Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 12th River Falls City Council meeting. First thing we'll do is stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please, Christy?
Here.
Downing.
Here.
Gagne.
Here.
Morissette.
Here.
Odine. Here. Page. Watson.
Okay, next we have approval of the minutes from the May 22nd regular and the workshop meeting.
I so move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have approval of the bills with Mr. Gagne.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the approval of the bills in the amount of $1,378,309.01, subject to the comptroller.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we're going to have public comments. First, we're going to have an update from the St. Croix Valley Habitat for Humanity, and Randy Bowser is going to be here. And am I saying, is it Bowser or Bozer? I'm sorry, Randy.
No problem.
Randy is the interim executive director for Habitat for Humanity.
That's correct. And for those of you, yes, I'm Randy Bozer. I'm the interim executive director for St. Croix Valley Habitat for Humanity. I joined the organization just under a year ago, so just about the time we were going through the process of working with city staff and with the council to get a revised loan agreement for the loan that was a result of the work that was done at the Eco Village and the development that was under construction there and has now been completed. And the top line of the update is that the agreement has worked well for us, and hopefully it's worked well with the city, for the city. Things are going very well. With me, I have Maureen Otwell, who is our board chair. She and I have been working for the last 11 and a half months, and we really had three objectives over that time frame. And the first one was really around stabilizing the financial position of the organization. And the second one was to strengthen our board and our oversight committee structure and things like that to make sure the organization was on stable footing going forward. And lastly, we wanted to resume mission-related construction work. So I'm happy to report that we broke ground on a home in Hammond last week and are ready to start construction and excavating this week. So we're making major strides forward and have, I think, come a long way in terms of where we were financially a year ago. We've done a lot to manage our expenses. We've done a lot to generate cash and make sure that going forward the organization is scoped properly to meet our mission, but also within the means that we have available to us. So what I can do is talk a little bit about some of the other things we've done. We have added some board members who have expertise in things like construction and finance and business that I think will be helpful. We've put in place a committee structure, so we have a construction committee, an internal affairs committee, which is really our finance, audit, and restore committee. We have an external affairs committee that is really overseeing some of our PR and fundraising work, and a governance committee, which is about recruiting board members and things. So we've put in some good processes that we think will lead to, again, good governance going forward for the organization, and are, I think, on a good path forward to continue to do the mission-related work that we've been doing as an organization since 1996. With that, I will take questions. I first want to make sure I thank city staff for the work they did in working with us to come up with an agreement that was something we could work with and something that was agreeable to the council and to our board. So I know a lot of work went into that, and I appreciate people willing to step up and do that. And I think it's worked out really well on both sides. So thank you to the staff for that work.
Questions? Council got any questions for Randy? No? Evidently it's going great.
Thank you.
Randy, we appreciate the update.
Aaron.
Next, okay, so now would be a chance for anybody in the audience to have anything they can stand up and talk about. Otherwise, we'll move on. We'll close the council hearing and open up a public hearing on the annual liquor license and beer license renewals. If there's anybody in the audience has anything like to say about it, yep, come on up. Oh, not yet. No, hang on, your minute's coming. Okay. So we'll close the public hearing and reopen up the council hearing. And first thing I'll do is I'll take a roll call, make sure the agents are here. Bob and Steve, store 4 and 6. Okay. Holiday, Dean, we seen ya. Dick's Hometown. Right here, Michelle. Family Fresh. There's Trey. Shopko. Yep. Walgreens. Okay. River Falls Baseball Council. Or there he was. Lazy River Bar and Grill. Back in the corner. St. Croix Lanes. Perfect. And BX Moonshiners. Right there. Okay. Everybody's here. Perfect. Okay, so next we'll move on to, I'll entertain motions for let's start with the Class A beer license.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we grant the renewals for the Class A beer license contingent that all licensing requirements are met at the time of issuance.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on to Class A beer and Class A cider.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we grant renewals for the Class A beer and Class A cider only licenses contingent that all licensing requirements are met at the same time of issuance for Holiday Station Store Number 8.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next for Class A and Class A liquor and Class A beer.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to grant the combination Class A liquor and Class A beer license contingent that all licensing requirements are met at time of issuance for Dick's Hometown Liquor, Family Fresh Market, Shopco number 130, and Walgreens.
Second.
I would like to.
Yep, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, we have a change of agent for Erickson's or for Family Fresh. So as is my practice, I'd like to ask the new agent 3 quick questions, if you wouldn't mind stepping up to the podium. First of all, welcome to town. I understand that you're the new store manager, so
I am.
Good to
Thank
have you
you
in town. So every new agent that we have in town, I ask them the same 3 questions, and that is, have you taken your responsible bartender serving class?
I have.
Do you understand the role of an agent?
Yep.
Okay. You understand that if a alcohol-related violation happens, even if you're not there, you're the one responsible?
I do, correct.
Thank you very much. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next, Class B beer licenses.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we grant the Class B, renewal of the Class B beer license contingent that all license requirements are met at the time of issuance. And I think the only one on the list is the Baseball Council.
Second.
Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next is Class B liquor and Class B beer.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we grant renewal of the combination Class B liquor and Class B beer license contingent that all licensing requirements are met at the time of issuance for Lazy River, St. Croix Lanes, and BX Moonshiners.
Second.
I do have a question.
Yep, questions, comments? Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'd ask Mr. Castro to come to the podium, please. Mr. Castro, how are you tonight?
Pretty good.
Good, thanks for coming up. I know that when you just witnessed me ask those questions of the new agent, I know when you came to town, I asked you those same 3 questions. I did see you had 2 violations really recently of open after hours on successive nights, March 31st and April 1st. I have talked to the chief. He feels that the problem has been corrected, but I'd like to hear it from you or hear your side of the story. before we
Sure.
vote.
It's yes, we did get those violations, and we already took some measures to do it. So we're gonna be closing 1 hour before the hour they're closing alcohol. We're gonna be selling less because the transaction from bar to restaurant late night is sometimes harder.
Yep.
So that's the measure we're taking now.
Okay, good.
So-
Good. I enjoy your restaurant. I enjoy it. I
Thank
just
you.
want to make sure that we got that one corrected.
Sure.
So thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and last one is Class C wine.
Mr. Mayor, I move to grant issuance of the Class C wine license contingent that all licensing requirements are met at time of issuance.
Second.
This is
Questions?
for RF Baseball
Yep.
Council.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, we'll move on to request for a combination Class B liquor and Class B beer license for R2K Enterprising LLC doing business as Emma's Bar. I'm gonna close the council hearing and open up a public hearing first to see if anybody has anything they want to say about this. Otherwise, we'll close the public hearing and reopen up the council hearing, and I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we grant the combination Class B liquor and Class B beer license for R2K Enterprises LLC doing business as Emma's Bar.
Second.
Like to
Yep.
ask the agent.
Go ahead.
Mr. Larson, Riley, could I ask you to come up, please? Kind of heard this already, but
Hi,
you understand the role of an agent?
I do.
And you understand that if an alcohol-related violation happens, even if you're not there, you're responsible?
Yes.
And you've taken your bartender's or your responsible server's license? I know you're serving at other bars, so I would assume you have.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck with your new business.
Yep. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, move on to the consent agenda. First one is a resolution regarding open container exempt request for Lincoln Street between Fremont and Lewis Street for a block party. This would approve the open container request for the block party. Another one is a resolution awarding bid for the 2018 mill and overlay program. Does anybody want to, by the way, this bid would go to Monarch Paving. Does anybody want to pull anything? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next move on to ordinances and resolutions. This is the first reading of ordinance 2017-07. This amends the chapter 15.12 of the municipal code related to electrical contractor licenses. This is the first reading. The second reading is June 26th. Does the council have any questions about this?
I have a question.
Yep.
For staff. I know that this doesn't impact private residents or private people that want to go in and say replace their old fuse box for a switch box for their electrical. But my question is you don't have to pull a permit from the city or a license from the city to do electrical work as a contractor because the state requires it. That's what this change is going to invoke. Okay. Do you still have to pull a permit being a contractor to do the work?
Yes,
Okay.
you still need a permit.
All right. I had one of my constituents I was talking to about this, want that clarification, so
I think
there
you
it is.
still need a permit. Just to clarify, though, it's someone working on their own home can do that.
Right,
You
just not a
couldn't work on
contractor.
someone else's home, so.
Just a contractor has to be licensed by the state,
Correct.
and we're removing the city license requirement.
Right, correct.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to ordinance 2017-08. This will amend section 12.04.230 of the municipal code related to snow and ice removal. There again, this is the first reading, and the second reading will be June 22nd. This change would remove the language that allows for cost reduction if a snow removal violation hasn't occurred in the previous 3 years. Does council have any questions or comments about this?
I have a question.
Yep.
It's kind of an interesting one. If a person is out of town, can they make an exception to hire the city in case of a snowfall for a fair price? Or if they call them beforehand to make an exception?
No, I doubt it.
Don't provide.
I was going to say,
We don't
because I didn't think
service
so.
for
Yeah.
I don't think they want to, I don't think
No.
we're trying to encourage that
Right.
type of activity.
Yeah.
Right.
But I bet you could call one of the snow removal folks in town and have them do it.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a lot of,
If I received a call like that, that's what I would do, is refer you back to a public contract. Yep.
Okay.
There's a lot of kids out there too, if you watch Facebook, and some of these Facebook classifieds are always soliciting doing snow removal in the winter, so
Make friends with your neighbors.
that's
Yep.
exactly that too.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, move on to number 9 is a resolution awarding the sale of $3,460,000 general obligation bonds for park project. This is a different amount than what is in the agenda, but Sean Lentz from Eilers will he'll explain to us why that is.
Thank you, Mayor. Does everyone have the sale report? I brought a few extra copies if there's okay. I do. Okay. Thank you, Julie. I will go over the report, but prior to getting into the results of the sale, just as a little background for the council, I believe the council members received this document, the official statement. We've been working with the city on the preparation of this, and the document serves a couple of purposes. One, it is the document, much like a stock or mutual fund prospectus, that bidders use to determine how they're going to decide to put a bid together for the city and a bid on the debt. And we also use it amongst other documents to review with Moody's Investor Service the rating for the bonds that the city has. So where I wanted to start today is a quick discussion about that rating. If you go to the sale report, or if you have it on a screen electronically, and go a couple pages, one page in, you'll see the Moody's Investor Service report. This is a press release that they put out. What the process was is we compiled a lot of information. Julie and the rest of the staff at the city answered questions that they had put to us, and they gathered background information like your finance plan, your capital improvement plan, other documents just to give a flavor for the planning and the work that the city of River Falls does to manage the city ongoing from year to year. And then we conducted a conference call, about an hour and a half, where I know Kevin was a part of that, Scott was a part of it, and finance staff, Julie, leading the group, where we answered a lot of specific questions from them. And after going through all of that process, I'm happy to report that they affirmed the city's rating of AA2. I know a couple of the members are probably new since the last borrowing that the city did, but we've had that rating for a couple of years now. And we're always striving to get to the next level, if at all possible. I think the city's doing a lot of the things that they have control over in that attempt to get to the next level up, AA1. There's only one more level after that, AAA. But as you look at the report, or excuse me, the press release, there are a couple things they talk about here, factors that could lead to an upgrade and factors that could lead to a downgrade. Expansion of the tax base, and so unfortunately, size becomes just the raw size of the community is a factor they take into account. And substantial declines in, material growth in reserve levels. Now, your reserve levels are very good, so you're certainly nothing to be ashamed of or in any way negative, much higher than many other communities. But when they look at you in the context of AA1 communities and AAA communities, maybe we're not quite to that level. And that becomes a judgment call, too, as to what level is really the best level for the city of River Falls from year to year. So those 2 points, you have some control over the reserve levels, tax base, a little less control. The other one's the downgrade, weakening of the tax base and socioeconomic profile, which is very solid in the city, particularly given that you have a university, which sometimes just from students and not having a lot of money can pull those ratios down. And also substantial declines in operating reserves or liquidity levels. So in terms of the type of activities, particularly that last one, that you as a council can set policies on to maintain and hopefully again in the future maybe even get a better rating, that is a big part of it, is having a solid fund balance and a solid cash position for the city, which decreases the risk that there would ever be a problem paying your debt. That's how the rating agencies look at it. So again, just to finalize on that, the city is doing a very good job. The AA2 rating is reflective of a very strong financial situation, and certainly something I think the city can be proud of.
Sean, could I ask just a quick question?
Absolutely.
And this might be asking you to interpret their thoughts, so this might not be a fair question for you, but reserve levels, we have a policy that we keep 50% of our operating expense in reserve at all times. We stay right at that number or above it. Would there be an amount that they would be, is it an amount of, is it reserves versus debt? Is it reserves versus a percentage of budget? What's the measurement there? Can you guess?
It's, when it's the reserves, it's reserves divided by operating revenues.
Okay.
Is what they look at, and I think that's what your policy is set on to, is reserves divided. Now, I can tell you, and what I think Julie and I got today, what Moody's calls their scorecard. And if you look at your scorecard for the city, they give you a AAA in that category of where your reserve levels already are. So for you guys,
It's the size.
you look at all these factors together. They have some of, like that one where you're considered a AAA. They have some other ones where you're in the A category. So I think maybe, Julie, it might be good to circulate that at some point to give the council a little more insight. But what they're saying is that with some of your other factors that are maybe in that A category, if you reduce your liquidity and your fund balance
It's
down
gonna knock
below,
down. Yeah.
then
That's
that
what's
could,
dragging us up, not
that's
down.
what's pulling you
Got
up.
it.
You got
Okay.
it. You got it exactly.
So the
Yep.
calculation is almost like a day's cash on hand calculation in some ways.
It is. The standard rule, as a starting point, we like to encourage communities to have at least 3 months.
Yeah.
So maybe more in that 25 to 33% range. And the city, River Falls, has historically been above that and a little more conservative on that, which is good and helps on the rating.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Nope, no problem. With that as a background, then, if you can go a couple more pages back to the title Bid Tabulation, I'd like to just briefly take you through the results of the sale. With the official statement put together and then the rating being publicly released so that bidders knew we stayed at the AA2 level, the sale of the $3,505,000 in bonds was put out this morning at 11 o'clock. And we did end up getting, on that issue, on the general obligation issue, 3 bids. You'll see they're pretty close, compact. BOK Financial out of Milwaukee and Baird out of Milwaukee. And then the other bid was Northland out of the Minneapolis area. BOK Financial had the best bid at 2.98%. So this is 15-year fixed rate interest rates for the city under 3%. Very good results on this issue. But if you look through again the bids, very competitive. And then if I could have the council go to the final page of the handout. We also wanted to update you on the impact of the winning bid today in comparison with the pre-sale report that I think Julie had in your packet a couple weeks ago, a month to a couple weeks ago. And I direct your attention at the middle of the page there, where you'll see final and projected. In the pre-sale report, we always try to be somewhat conservative on this because we're usually a month or a month and a half ahead of when the sale is actually going to occur. But the pre-sale report had a true interest rate estimated at about that 3.26 level. And I'm happy to report again with the results of the sale, we're under the 3% with, again, that bid from forgot the name already, BOK Financial. And the other point I would make where the mayor started was he had mentioned that the size of the issue has come down from what was originally planned, was $3,505,000. Council may wonder, and Mayor asked the question, why was that? What we ended up getting in the winning bid, and actually all the bids, is what we call a premium bid. And when we get a premium bid, the bidder is paying us more than what we're asking for. So what we're able to do with the premium bid is reduce how much we borrow and put those dollars to work in reducing the borrowing. And that's what was done here after consulting with Julie. And that allowed us to reduce the size of the issue from $3,505,000 to the $3,460,000. amount.
When you say size of the issue, size of the loan,
Size of the loan.
essentially?
Yep,
Okay.
that's right. To finalize, again, we were very pleased with the results, with the interest rate just under 3%, and our recommendation would be to approve the bid from BOK Financial, and in doing so, you have a resolution prepared by bond counsel. Approval of that resolution from the council accepts the bid, the winning bid as well. So again, we would certainly recommend council approval on this.
Thanks, Sean. Anybody have any questions on this one, Sean?
Is
Okay.
there anything in this that would allow for adjustments that would somehow trigger it being callable sooner than the projected 2026?
The call that's in there, which was just mentioned, is on April 1st of 2025 for the maturities 26 and later. That is at the city's discretion. There is no, if the question is there any way that the owner of the bonds now, the winning bidder, could trigger the requirement that you prepay early? They cannot. This would be the soonest date that the city could either refinance and try to lock into lower rates, or if cash was available, begin to make a prepayment. But that, it's all on an option for you. There isn't an option of the purchaser to require the city to prepay. It's an option that you have. If interest rates skyrocket, you continue to pay at the rates that you would accept tonight. Those would be fixed upon approval tonight.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yep.
So I'll entertain a motion on that.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we, I'm trying to think about this. Should we amend the amount
Yeah, what's the,
down? I make a motion, we amend the amount down to $3,460,000.
The resolution should have that
The
number.
new
The current
resolution
re-
has
this
that.
resolution
The
in
new
front of
one.
us has the changed amount on it.
Yes.
Okay,
Here,
but
yeah,
in the,
read this
in
one.
the
Read-
resolution, it says in the body of it, not to exceed $3,505,000.
oh, yeah, it does.
Body.
That, if it's in the preamble of the resolution, what it might be referencing is the initial resolution that you
Original.
approved a couple
Okay,
weeks ago.
Okay.
Which was
I could double check, but I believe that might be what it's
Oh,
doing.
yeah, I'm sorry,
April
you're right,
10th.
Sean, because it says as of April 10th.
Whereas, yeah, it's in the whereas, yeah.
Oh, there it is, the last whereas.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, here we go.
Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion, we approve the resolution awarding the sale of $3,460,000 in general obligation bonds, Series 2018A.
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Mayor?
Oh.
Could we have a roll call?
Oh, yes,
vote
right,
on
we need a
these?
roll call vote. Sorry about that.
Odine.
Yes.
Downing.
Yes.
Morset.
Yes.
Gagne. Watson. Bierstead.
Yes.
Okay, next we'll go on to, the next one is a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $2.5 million of electrical system revenue bonds of the City of River Falls, Pierce and St. Croix Counties, Wisconsin, and providing for the payment of the bonds and other details with respect to the bonds. There again, this is a lower amount than that is in the agenda. And once again, Sean will let us know why.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. And I'll start at the same spot as before on the rating. The quick history, the electric utility, I think, was last rated, and Julie will correct me, but it was 2009. And at that point, or Kevin, you probably remember some of these details too, that was, the rating was an A2 at that time. Then I believe in 2012 or 13, when you had that arrangement with WPPI and you had an influx of funds that came to the electric utility, the city paid off all outstanding electric utility revenue bonds. And when you do that, your rating it goes away. You don't have a rating if there's no debt outstanding. So with the proposed new issue, we did also go through the process of renewing the electric utilities rating. And I'm happy to report that they did give us an upgrade over that level that we were at, which was back from 2009 and up through 2012-13 timeframe, from an A1 to an A2 to an A1 level. Now that, again, the A1 would be, the city's a double A2, there's a double A3 in between, and then the A1. So there's a couple steps in between the electric utility and the city's rating as for general obligation debt. Same items that they report here on the press release. Factors that could lead to a future upgrade is an expansion or diversification of the system and the customer base. So I think if my memory serves, the university is a large user, although they did mention to us, because we pushed them a little bit, that the university's not going anywhere, and that's a pretty solid user. Sometimes a large business user can cause some concerns, because if a major user leaves, you could have some cash flow problems from losing that billing. Or substantial or sustained increases to liquidity levels. Again, though, for you guys, this is a credit strength and really pulls up some other areas. So while they could highlight that maybe you could even go higher from a business practice, you got to consider what overall is the best position for your electric utility. On the downgrade side that could occur, reducing that liquidity or the debt service coverage, one of the main areas that they look at is how many times over do the net revenues of the utility provide revenues to cover the debt payment. And this issue is your only debt payment for the electric utility. Our number is over 6 times currently. So you're very, very strong, and that's a great position to be in. And I think also that helped us to do a 10-year note here rather than go longer, have to pay more interest. So I think that having that high debt coverage is a big plus. And then they also, as a downgrade, significant increases in the debt level. This is the only issue at 2.5, ultimately 2.5, we'll talk about it in a minute, that would be outstanding. So you're in a very strong position as an electric utility to just have that one issue outstanding. So again, very good rating results. We took that then to the market, and if you go a few pages back to the bid tab on the electric system revenue bonds, this issue did attract a little bit more attention. We ended up with 6 bidders. I think my thought on it is the electric revenue bonds as a revenue-backed security, not a GO. The bidders are able to maybe get a little more yield on that because it's not quite as strong as the GO-backed debt, full faith and credit of the city. It's only backed by revenues, even though you have really good coverage. So I think that had some attractiveness to it, and the 10-year term was also really attractive. The winning bid was from a large conglomeration headed by Baird, who also bid on the other issue, and the winning bid had a true interest rate of 2.81%. The winning bid also did a fairly sizable premium, like we talked about on the general obligation issue. And if you'll go to the last page of the handout, again in the middle section here, cost of fund calculation, we had projected a true interest rate of about 3.46% with this winning bid at 2.82. And I was happy to note that with the premium bid, the expected issue size of 2.6 million was able to be reduced down to 2.5 million and still have the exact same amount of projects for the revenues for the projects that the electric utility is doing. So that is real good results, and I think we ended up about 10,000 or so less in payments each year with that lower size and a better interest rate overall. So again, very strong results for the electric revenue issue. Second resolution prepared by your bond counsel, Quarles and Brady, and we would recommend approval of the Baird and Syndicate bid that they had, and approval of that resolution does accept that bid. But if there's questions, be happy to answer those as well.
Back to Mr. Downing's question on the previous offering, do we have a call, do we have a window?
Yeah. Let me double check that. The call on the electric issue is April 1st of 2004 for the maturities in April, or 2024.
Okay.
Excuse me. That'd be interesting. 2024 for 25 and thereafter.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Sean.
Well, then,
A related question, or perhaps the opposite, is there a prepayment penalty of any sort?
I should have mentioned that before. There is not.
Okay.
So when we get to that date and any date thereafter, you can pay premium plus any accrued interest from the last payment date. There is no penalties.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
So I just a couple comments on the rating. So the rating on the electric, as Sean indicated, the last time we were rated in 2009, and then it was carried forward in a couple issues. We were A2. A1 is a substantial increase given Moody's mood. Essentially, I don't think we could have got any higher as a municipal electric of our size, and that's a pretty good accomplishment for us to achieve that. And I think there's a lot of kudos to a lot of folks, but certainly the utility director, the advisory board, so Kevin and Julie, other folks have been working hard, and also our employees have been making a lot of good judgments and decisions on a day-to-day basis, where we really were able to considerably improve our expenditure to revenue situation. And before you pass the resolution, just take a couple more minutes to enjoy a debt-free electric utility, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
So, the fact that we're only borrowing $2.5 million and we just completed a $5 million project is pretty substantial, and so I just hats off to everybody involved in the management and implementation of our the care of our system, and not that anyone's comparing, but Excel and Alliant are A3s, so. I don't know what that says about our management versus theirs, but we're better.
We've been debt-free since 2012?
12 or 13, I think.
I think it was 2015 when we made the last payment. I think
was
it was
it 15?
15. I think so. But
Good for us. Okay,
Or a reaffirmation in 12 or 13, so. So just soak it in.
yeah. Yep. Well, let's finish that.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $2,500,000 in electric system revenue bonds, Series 2018B of the City of River Falls, Pierce and St. Croix Counties, Wisconsin.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Oh, I need a roll call. I'm sorry, Christie.
Watson.
Yes.
Bierstead.
Yes.
Morissette.
Yes.
Gagne.
Yes.
Downing.
Yes.
Odine.
Yes.
Question?
Yeah, I quick have a question for you. I noticed that there's different states on some, like Baird is from Wisconsin and some of the other two on the other one that we approved were from Wisconsin.
Yep.
What kind of benefit does that have to our state or our local economy by having local folks be awarded these? Is there any impact to our local economy, our state economy on stuff like that?
The information and the purchasers of the bonds will range from people outside of this area to people in the area. So what we see generally when one of these institutions buys the bonds is they will contact people and sell the bonds in smaller block sizes. And local purchasers are often the first people they'll call, local banks potentially as well, because they have a real good understanding of the community and an interest in investing in the community. So we see a lot of that happen. Doesn't happen all the time, but it's pretty typical that it does.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, next move on to Administrator's Report. If anybody's got anything for Scott?
While you're thinking of your
Ken?
questions, I would make a note that Councilmember Page had indicated to my office that he was on a military commitment for this meeting, so he had made us aware of his absence in advance.
Anybody got anything for Scott?
Scott, could you just remind the public, for those who are at home, about our taxi situation, so they're aware of it as well as we? Because we already talked about it in an earlier meeting today, but people at home might not know what we know.
We are down one taxi. So we have got one taxi that was involved in the accident, it's out of service. And so until we can acquire, borrow, lease, or rent, we have one less taxi than we normally operate with. So that'll mean extended wait times for some periods of time. I would guess the weekends would be some of the worst. Because we won't have, instead of having 3 taxis available, we'll have 2.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay, move on to, we're going to recess into closed session per Wisconsin state statutes for the following purposes. 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. To wit, sale of property in Sterling Ponds, Whitetail, and Man Valley Corporate Parks. Christie, can we have a roll call?
Oh, need a motion.
Oh, I need a motion,
I
sorry.
make a motion, we move into
Jeez.
closed session.
There you go, thanks. Christie, now can we have a roll call?
Downing.
Bierstead.
Yes.
Downing.
Yes.
Odine. Gagne.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Morset.
Yes.
Okay, we're in closed session.